What's up, guys? This is Lindsay with Garage Gym Reviews. Today we are going to talk about the Echelon Strength Home. Now this is a smart gym, so very similar to what like the Tonal offers or Expedience offers. In fact, the PR team, when they sent it to us, said this can compete with something like the Tonal. And do I think that that is true? Probably not, but I do think it can be competitive with other smart gyms, maybe something like the Expedience. I think the Expedience is fantastic, and there were a lot of things that I did like about this, but I do have a couple call outs, nothing major. But first, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Also, if you want to go ahead and purchase this, use the link below, the like button. When you use that link, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it's what allows us to continue to do videos like this. Also, this was sent to us by the company. However, this is an honest, transparent review. And so I'm going to tell you everything that I think is really quality about this, and then the couple callouts I do have about this machine. Now, I have been able to test a lot of Echelon products over the last couple years. Their stair climber, a lot of their treadmills, their bike. This is probably my favorite Echelon product that I've been able to test so far. Something to note about Echelon is it feels like they're almost like, I don't want to say copying, mimicking, gaining creativity from other like products. So their bike looks a lot like the Peloton bike and functions a lot like the Peloton bike. Same goes with things like their dumbbells or their treadmills. All of it kind of mimics other products. And while I do think it still functions well, do I think that Echelon is as good as a Peloton or is good as a NordicTrack treadmill? Probably not. However, this one behind me, I still think is really good. We are going to do a video comparing this to the Expedience later on. But first, let's focus on the details of this machine. So first thing to note, this is like the promo offering. So at the time of shooting this video, it is $2,999. Think about the Tonal being close to that like $4,000 mark. And then the Expedience is actually a little bit cheaper at $2,700. So kind of right around what I would compare the Expedient price point to. And then also, I do think there are a lot of similarities between the Expedience and then also this Echelon one. On their website, they have 5 stars out of 11 reviewers. People actually gave this obviously 5 stars, like really good reviews. The one call out that people did experience was issues with the Wi-Fi connectivity as well as Bluetooth. I had these same issues. It took me actually a couple times in order to get the machine connected to our Wi-Fi. And then also, I never was able to connect it to my Bluetooth. Like, I tried to reset it. I tried to restart it. I reset my phone. Like, I did all of the steps I could think to do in order to get my Bluetooth connected. And it just never did. And that's not the first time that this has happened with an Echelon product for me. So if you have experienced something similar, I'd love to know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts below. I do think that this is a great product for somebody with a smaller space. So if you want to put it in like your office or you have an apartment, I do think that because of its compactfulness and the fact that it is almost like a full gym, it's really great for those types of people. The other thing that I do like about it, I see like benefits and cons both way, but this does not mount onto a wall like something that we see with the Tonal. So I think there are a couple benefits to that. One, you don't have to worry about hanging it onto the wall. You don't have to worry about finding the studs, all of that assembly that goes into that. And then also, even though this is heavy, I mean, the machine weighs 290 pounds, you at least have the ability to move it somewhat. And so if you decide, hey, I want it in my office now, you can at least move it without having to like repatch holes in your wall. Now, when the floorboard is fully up and everything's like compact, then it does come with like a mirror on the front. Now the mirror I think is great. I mean, especially if you are doing other Echelon programming classes. So let's say you want to go ahead and do a yoga class or a HIIT workout through the Echelon programming. It does not show up on the screen. You will have to use like your own phone, your own device in order to see that programming. The only programming on the machine is actually just the weightlifting programming that comes with this Strength Home. But if you do want to do other programs, at least you have a mirror in front of you allowing you to do that. I will say as you step closer to the mirror, it almost feels like if you are in one of those fun houses, it like will distort your like head or distort your body. As you take a couple steps further, maybe about 5-6 feet away from the mirror, then it looks totally fine. But if you do stand closer, I mean, you're going to be misshapen. When the floorboard lowers, it does have similar mechanisms. So it has hydraulic mechanism, very similar to what we see with a lot of treadmills. And I mean, thank God, because if this floorboard slams down onto the ground, I mean, that mirror is most likely breaking, and nobody wants 7 years of bad luck. So I am very thankful that it is a very slow lower and then just super safe. The resistance profile goes from 10 pounds all the way up to 110 pounds on each arm. Now, there were people online, and even Dick's Sporting Good website says this goes up to 132 pounds. And then even on the Echelon website says this goes up to 115 pounds. And then another part of their copy says this goes up to 110 pounds. So really, I had to test it out. The resistance is a digital resistance. It goes from 0 to 110 pounds on each lever arm. And this is like totally different type of resistance than what you would feel if you were just used to lifting like dumbbells or barbells. Because it works both the concentric and the eccentric, you have resistance throughout the entire movement. So for example, if you're doing like dumbbell presses with like 40 pounds, then doing about 20 pounds probably is going to give you that same stimulus, that same burn, that same pump. I mean, that was at least my experience. I was actually surprised at how low I ended up lowering the weight and still felt like I was getting a huge workout from it. One call out I do have is that there were a couple times when I was on the eccentric movement that it felt like the band actually lost tension. I even like looked back to my screen to make sure that I had set the resistance and like it actually clicked, okay, I want this at 20 pounds. Because again, like once I was up here, it was fine. But then once I started to lower, it felt like it just lost that resistance. It didn't happen every time. It didn't even happen, like every set. It was just every once in a while that ended up happening. Another kind of minor call out that I do have to this is, so basically the lever arms go up to 54 inches. If you are a taller person, there are certain movements where you are actually going to want like a higher lever arm. So I'm thinking something like a high to low, chest fly. If you are taller, you might not really be able to get that full range of motion. So what they actually have you do is on a lot of the classes, you drop down to your knees. I think that's smart. I think it's workable. I mean, even for taller people, it is workable to be able to do that. One thing though is that floorboard is very hard. Like on the Spedients, you have a little bit of padding. On the floorboard for this Echelon, it's just basically a hard surface. I think there's pros and cons to both. But I would just say, like, if you have old lady knees like myself, grab a yoga mat, grab a towel, because if you're doing movements on your knees, it's definitely going to be like a hard surface that you are landing on. So like I said earlier, this does connect to Wi-Fi. It does connect to Bluetooth. Despite people having trouble, they still gave it a lot of good reviews. A lot of the Wi-Fi connectivity issues came in with the live classes. So when I was reading reviews online, people basically just called out that they would get kicked out of a live class or they weren't able to fully load the live class. I didn't try any of the live classes because I already had Wi-Fi issues initially. So it is something to know. And then again, I wasn't able to connect my Bluetooth, but you do have the ability to connect to Bluetooth, track your metrics through a heart rate monitor or whatever you want to use. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this doesn't have any music with the classes. They are supposed to be updating so you can connect to like Fitbit, Spotify, Strava, but for right now, you don't have the ability. I do hope that when they do that update, they have some sort of mechanism like iFit has where you can kind of like mix the volumes of how you want it to go. So with iFit programming, you can go ahead and follow along and like raise the volume of your instructor's instructions while also like keeping the music down low or vice versa and mix it how you want. I think that is a really smart play on iFit's part. And I hope that Echelon does bring in that same sort of mixability when they finally do update Spotify to work on their machine. In terms of the screen, it is a 24-inch HD touchscreen. It can be both moved horizontally or vertically, and then it tilts up and down. So this is another call out that I do have. Whenever I had it in the horizontal position, the text would basically like overlay each other. It made it really hard to even read what it was on the screen or be able to click on the buttons appropriately. And when I switched it to the vertical position, I didn't have any issues. It was laid out clearly, it was responsive, it was easy to use. I tried it several times, again, restarted the machine. However, anytime I had it in that horizontal position, it went awry. Like something was askew and you couldn't clearly see the words. And so I mean, I don't know if that's like a programming update that needs to happen or what the issue was, but it was actually really annoying. Now on the lever arms, they are lettered. So you have letters A through I, so 11 vertical positions on each arm to be able to do lots of movements. So whether you're doing like barbell rows, cable lateral raises, if you're doing deadlift, because it does connect on the floorboard where the cables run through these two positions on the floorboard in order to do stuff like deadlifts, even squats, goblet squats, or cable squats. So there was a lot of different positions that you could go ahead and put your handlebars on or your bar in order to do all of the movements. Now, one thing I will say is that there was a couple movements in the class that required a bench. So like whether that was bench dips or whether that was bench press. With bench press, you could definitely lay on the floor and still do it. However, you're not going to be able to get that full range of motion that we like to see. So you might want to consider, if you don't have a bench, then purchasing a bench. So Echelon actually sells a storage bench, which I have not tested, but I thought it was kind of a cool concept. You can go ahead and store your dumbbells, kettlebells, resistance bands within the bench. It fits on the platform, and it also functions as a flat bench as well as an incline bench. So definitely something to consider if you also are looking for a bench. There was a couple things that I absolutely loved about this machine, and it came to the resistance and the movement. So one, I liked how easily you could change the weight. So you could do plus or minus 5 pounds, you could do plus or minus 10 pounds, or you could just do individual pounds. That is so much better than a typical dumbbell setup where they basically just go in 5-pound increments. There are movements where 40s might feel good, but once I jump up to 45s, I'm really struggling. So having that ability to just move up pound by pound and chip away in a progressive overloading kind of system, I think is really smart. The other thing that I really like that you can customize on this is basically how the resistance feels. So you can do standard resistance, or you can go ahead and do concentric, eccentric, isokinetic, and then again, they're standard. So there's a lot of customization that you can go ahead and do within the class programming. Included in your purchase is 2 smart handlebars. The smart handlebars will basically just let you go ahead and stop or restart the class without having to touch the screen from the button on the handlebar. I found this to be super helpful. It also comes with a bar, a rope, and then an ankle strap. One thing to keep in mind about the ankle strap that it comes with, it felt really small. I am not somebody who would consider myself to have even large or medium-sized ankles. They are actually pretty tiny. And the ankle strap that came with this actually fit pretty snugly to my ankle. It's not a big deal, but I would just make sure that if you are going to be using that ankle strap, if you're going to be doing lots of abductors or cable kickbacks or something like that, I would just go ahead and purchase my own ankle strap to use. Another cool thing about how this was designed is it comes with basically rear storage hooks. So you won't have to worry about where am I going to put all of my accessories that go along with this machine. You basically just hook it up to the back of the machine. Easy to use, easy to find, easy to keep clean. Now, according to their website, it says that they have a 300-pound weight capacity. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why. If you have an idea on why there is a weight capacity for a floorboard, let me know in the comments below. I understand why there's weight capacities on other machines, but essentially you're just standing on a platform that is sitting on a ground. So I don't know necessarily why there is a weight capacity connected with this. All right, and I'm about to give you a lot of numbers, so stick with me. The unfolded foot plate, the measurements are 32.5 inches wide by 75 inches long and then 71 inches high. When you fold up that foot plate, the measurements are 32.5 inches wide by 24 inches long and then 71 inches high. And then the foot plate itself is 31.5 inches wide, 51 inches long, and then it is 2 inches off the ground, so 2 inches tall. There are a lot of strength classes that you can take off this programming, or you can go ahead and customize your own programming. You can go ahead and set what do I want to hit, scroll through the library of movements, set the set the reps, set the rest time, set the time in between sets. There's a lot of customization that you could do if you do want to create your own sort of programming. The other thing that I like that you can customize is you could do pyramid lifts. So you can go ahead and up or lower the weight of each individual rep or each set, which I think is again, just super smart, allows you to customize your workout and tailor it to how you want. Now the Echelon Echelon programming is $12.99 a month or $100 a year. Again, you don't necessarily have access to all the HIIT classes, cardio classes, yoga classes on the programming of the Echelon Strength Home. You're going to have to go ahead and download that separately onto your iPad or your iPhone, however you want to use it that way. The warranty is a 1-year comprehensive warranty, and then it includes 5-year warranty on the motor itself. All in all, do I think that this is the best smart gym? No, I don't. However, is it my favorite Echelon product that I have tested so far? Yeah, probably. And would I recommend, if somebody is looking for a smart gym, to consider this one? Yes, despite my minor callouts, I actually really liked the resistance on this. I liked how it functioned. I liked actually the workouts within the classes, and you can do a variety of different movements, plus a ton of customization within the programming. So all in all, I still think this is a great product, even if it isn't my absolute have to have favorite smart gym. I still thought it was great. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. This has been Lindsay. Peace.